Now, in the submissions, I have a question. Do you need a list of specific supplies? And I'm sort of getting this question a lot. When they do their submission, do you want as much information possible about what it is that they need, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do have character limits to the essay and a time limit to the video. So working within those constraints, certainly communicating as much as you can, but you don't have to get down to the nitty-gritty of we need 500 easels and
exactly.
12 paint kits and things like that.
Now, can a portion of the funds be spent on construction? So if somebody needed a new gym or a new classroom, could the funding go toward that?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. What are the key ingredients to make a proposal understandable to Bing?
I think the key thing is giving us background in terms of what is your certainly what does the school need, how does the school propose to address these needs, and how will that solution really enrich student learning. We would like some background information on the school student body and community so that we can really understand who this school is and what they're all about and what they're trying to achieve. And then certainly the creativity and originality aspect is something that we appreciate, along with the visual component. So photos, being with our homepage, we're all about photos, and so using the photos and video to communicate those needs in a clear way will be greatly appreciated by the Bing team. But again, as I said, it really is up to the public. So it's about the public and their rating and what they're finding as compelling.
Now, I have actually a few questions that I'm just going to kind of roll into this one question because they're pretty much all asking a similar thing. How can a truly disadvantaged school populated by families with little to no technology compete with schools that have families with technology and broadband and broad parent networks? So if a school or area doesn't have that, how can they compete with ones that do? Melanie?
So as you guys know, I work for DonorsChoose.org, and I just thought that this would be a cool place for us to share what we've learned. Actually, when donors come to our site to fund projects, many of the donations came from California and New York. Which I think just speaks to the fact that if you have a project that's really compelling, you can draw people regardless of whether they're in your community, whether they even, they want to fund a middle school project, but you're a great elementary school. And so you just shouldn't pigeonhole yourself just to people in your community. People do care about schools that are outside of their community and maybe even the grade level or whatever that they intended to vote on. If your project's compelling enough and you make the case, they are willing to support you.
That's great. And Melanie, since we're on there, do you have any specific examples of some success stories that you have worked with, that you've seen happen?
Stories of like a school that maybe used DonorsChoose.org to get a lot of materials and sort of transform.
Yes.
Is that what you mean?
Something that you've worked with and can give a little inspiration to some of the people that are participating in the webinar, because you never know, you might say something that may spark some inspiration in them.
Yeah, well, one of my favorite stories is the school in Baltimore, Lamell Middle School, which when I went there definitely was not the school that would appear maybe in the top 5 in Baltimore City, but had a great principal and leadership team when we first opened to them. And so you had every teacher in the school putting their heads together about the types of materials they needed. In 2 months, we had 66 project requests from teachers at Lamell Middle School. Now that's not to the same, it's not similar to Bing in the sense that they were individual micro requests for $400, $500 in materials at a time, but it is similar in the sense that there was such a momentum around making the school better that, that sort of created these really interesting projects that wouldn't have been thought of otherwise. And I think that's really the heart of what Bing's trying to do, get a whole community, a school community, to think about what we really need to make our school better and to sort of step outside of the box and submit those ideas.
And ultimately, it seems from all the information that you're giving here, it's really about getting that community together so that people are focused on a common goal of bettering their schools and bettering their children's education. you know, I mean, winning's fantastic, but getting the community together seems that what's really going to be a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I would add to that. If anybody has been watching, you know, all the news around Waiting for Superman and the panel that was on Oprah, I mean, it really is about, you know, getting the community involved and being, you know, not just parents and teachers, but, you know, there are a lot of people out there that are education enthusiasts. I'm the mom of a 6-month-old, but before that, I, you know, was still always very passionate about education, and that's why I love my job so much. But there are a lot of people like me that are out there that want to get engaged and help out causes when they can. And then, Jeff, I think you had a question. I just want to make sure we address it about the technology issue. So totally understand that the you know, some schools may not have access to the same technology that others do. What we encourage schools to do is, you know, go to a local community center or even to a library. A lot of times these places do have equipment available to check out or to rent. Sometimes a parent will have something that they can make available. And even a lot of times cell phones actually have just as good photo and video capabilities as most people's cameras do. And so even being able to use a cell phone to take the video or take the pictures can be a great way to do it. And again, you know, kind of going back to the earlier discussions, it really is about the story and about the creativity and innovation around telling that story, not having, you know, a full suite of video and film equipment that you're able to make this submission with. So if you stay focused on the story and how you tell it, you'll have a great submission.
That's a great answer. Thank you, Liz. The last question I want to ask you on here is, are there different categories for second place? So if everyone's going for the 100,000, can someone just go for the second place, or is it everybody goes for the 100,000 and then it filters down from there?
Yeah, it is pretty much everybody goes for the 100,000, and then, you know, those that don't make the 100,000 can be, you know, the candidates for the $50,000 prize. The only categories that we've assigned are the ones to have the winners by age group, and it's bing.com /Our School Needs,
where it says win 100,000 for your school. So we're going to actually, I'm going to getting some more questions right now, but Liz, I want to ask you, how did this project come about with Bing? Like, where do they get the idea that they want to start helping schools? I mean, it's such a wonderful thing that you guys are doing.
Yeah, it was about a year ago that we were thinking about how do we kind of go beyond sort of the day-to-day business of Bing and think through a cause that we wanted to support. And we looked at education, and certainly, you know, education is just such a worthy cause just in general in terms of, you know, the challenges around resources, particularly now in today's economy, and just how important it is to the success of really the country. And then we looked, you know, we felt like there was a really great alignment there in terms of what, you know, Bing just tries to do from a product standpoint, you know, in terms of getting access to information and encouraging exploration and discovery as part of the learning process. And so we felt like there was just a really great match there in terms of what we do from a product standpoint and what folks are doing in the education system. And so we partnered with Donors Choose as just a great partner in helping us figure out what is the right thing to do. How do we help all these schools and teachers and students that have these needs? And it's been a great partnership with Donors Choose in terms of being able to do big campaigns like the Our School Needs contest, but also that microfinancing that Melanie mentioned. We have a program where it's Search with a Purpose, where, you know, every time you set your default to Bing, we'll donate funding to Donors Choose. And so just making sure that we're helping both sort of on a big scale and a small scale has been really a great outcome of the Donors Choose partnership. And we've done a few campaigns in the past. We did a Earth Day photo contest, and we did a teacher appreciation campaign that has just been great in terms of working with students and teachers to participate in these efforts, get kids being creative, taking pictures, making videos, and then seeing the results of actually getting funding into the schools. So we're really excited about what we've seen so far in this almost year of being focused on education. And then looking forward, we're really focused on not only doing these types of campaigns that are about funding, but really thinking through what can we do from a product standpoint to help teachers in the classroom, and from a community standpoint. So what are the resources and tools and support that the teachers and parents and students need to participate in the learning process, and to make learning engaging and, dare I say, fun activity to do. And so we're really focused across all those avenues to help support education, and partnering with the great teachers that are out there to help make it happen.
Learning's supposed to be fun, Liz? That's crazy talk. I
know.
Listen, I have a couple more questions for you, and I'm going to direct these at Liz, but Melanie, if you have some answers, please chime in as well. I have a couple more questions for you from the webinar. Large grants like this usually have extensive accountability measures. What is expected from the winner once funds are received?
So from a Bing perspective, I think we certainly want to keep in touch with the winners. We've done that for other campaigns to see how the money is being spent just from an impact standpoint. We want to have just that gratification of seeing that new gym being put up, or the new art supplies being put in the classroom. I think Donors Choose, I'll let Melanie weigh in on what Donors Choose, how they handle from a distribution standpoint and accountability with the funding. I will say, from the teachers that I've talked to, working with your local administration, your principal, your superintendents, to ensure that the grants are approved and that the money is going into the right funding buckets, and then all those accountability measures go into place there. But we, from a Bing perspective, we don't get involved in that aspect.